Welcome back to Business Today. Now they say that extraordinary problems require extraordinary solutions. And in Kenya, the cost of living is already high. Social protection buffers are very weak in this particular country. Question is, what are these issues? Let's look at some of them. Look at the budget deficit, 5.7% of GDP. That is almost 720 billion shillings. So with the deficit, we have to borrow more. Revenue collection, we are doing it below average, 16% of GDP, below EAC targets of 25% of GDP. This small tax collection over the last 11 years, we've done very, very little improvement. Over-reliance on formal sector workers. When we introduce taxation, housing levy, it touches on the same people in the formal sector. And we have a very huge or rather informal sector that needs to be brought on board. So the question is, what is the solution? Because our conversations are solution-oriented. And now I'm joined by Jose Kili, who is the Group Managing Director, of course, of CPF Group. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us. You say you are coming with radical solutions, sir. And I'm looking at this particular solution because it's twofold. You are addressing cost of living, looking at taxation, and you are involving also the social protection aspects. What are these?
Yes. No, thank you very much for inviting me. I think the topical issue in our country at the moment, and of course in most parts of the world, is on the cost of living, the high taxation, and the lack of commensurate availability of social protections to cushion the citizens against the challenges of life. So, I think the story goes that it's only people, being foolish. You prescribe the same solution to the same problems all the time and expecting different results. So my thinking, and I've taken close to 3 years to think through this. I'm not a professional economist, but I'm a practical CEO running an organization where I have to balance my budget. So the proposal is as follows: that we need, and every Kenyan needs, the tax rate to be lowered.
To be lowered?
Yes. But the problem is that the government pushes and says, you lower it, we lose revenue, we can't take care of you. So something has to happen differently. Everybody talks about widening the tax bracket, the tax net. But most of the time, there's also a pushback by saying, don't tax the vulnerable, exempt certain areas of the economy. My proposal is only dealing with where citizens' taxation is concerned, not the corporates. So I want us to understand.
Okay.
I'm not proposing a change in the tax structure for corporate organizations, only for citizens.
Only for citizens.
Now, so how do we achieve a reduction in the tax, the practical tax rate, and lower it, and at the same time still collect even much more money?
Is that tenable? Because you're introducing something quite interesting.
Yes.
We are used to pay.
Yes.
Now you say
Pays.
you use the ye, yeah? You introduce pays. I'd like to have that graphic up here. Can we have that particular graphic up here? So you're introducing the PACE model. What is PACE model?
PACE model is actually a replacement model which we have come up with. It's not there at the moment. To replace payee for formal sector workers. It also replaces the VAT aspect as far as tax is concerned for the citizens. Okay? It also replaces excise taxes which are not necessary, other than those ones which are targeting to discourage consumption of certain products.
Okay.
It also removes county taxes which are needed to increase revenue for the counties and replace it with licensing fees which are necessary for monitoring licenses only, not for really raising revenue.
All right.
And with that, you replace it with pay as you spend. So the idea is that individuals, actually, the real income of an individual can only be measured correctly by the amount they spent, not the amount they declare at the end of the year. We have been our tax policy has been focusing on declared income. Even for the corporates, they focus on declared income. There are loopholes there. So if you say you pay as you spend, that's a consumption tax. So the idea is that we replace all those taxes for individuals or for citizens by this new model.
Okay. So you want to cap it, yeah? Consolidate all these taxes, income, excise, VAT. And you see, when you mention like this, the government feels some type of way about this, doing away with all these specific, routes or channels of getting taxes. And you want to collapse that to one single tax that is maxed at 16%. How do you say this will be more than this as it stands right now?
Then put on the screen the simulation.
There's a simulation.
There is a simulation.
Can you take a look at the next graphic? Thank you very much. This is the simulation.
This is part of, okay, this one is the current situation vis-a-vis the proposal.
Okay.
Look at where we are getting most of our money. Domestic VAT, there is the PAYE, I think somewhere you see PAYE.
Yes.
PAYE.
That's
462 billion last year.
And you're saying it will jump to 5 trillion?
You will see.
Hey.
So all these other taxes are all levied on top of each other with the aim of only getting 2.2 trillion at the end of the year. And then there's also an element which has not been captured here, which is the refunds.
Okay.
Particularly on VAT. Okay?
Yes.
So this is I'm saying it's possible to do this, maybe gradually, not initially. Maybe you can start with a lower, in terms of, what we call it, piloting. So that is where we want to go, 6.2.
So corporation tax has not changed. You're saying this impacts, it doesn't touch on corporations?
Corporates, yes. So you leave those corporates. Government will still get their corporate tax.
Okay.
They will still get all these other ones, okay, which are there for now. But we are dealing with what affects the mwananchi.
Okay. And consumption taxes have been quite an issue because that's, when I talk to economists, that's their concern. Any consumption tax, even let's take a look, for example, with subsidies. They're saying consumption subsidies is a problem, but production subsidies, if I can get you, fertilizer to be able to produce more, it becomes more of an incentive. How do you respond to that issue of that concern?
No, please don't change the topic. The idea is that consumption tax will be the only tax. People have a problem when you have consumption tax, which is happening now in some elements, like VAT, excise tax, and all those are consumption taxes. Because it's taxed at the time you spend. The only thing is that on top of that, it's also direct taxes. So for you as a middle class worker, you are first taxed 30% to 35% of your pay. Then after you get your net pay, you go now spending and paying the consumption taxes.
Yes.
So effectively, a citizen who is working gets like taxed twice. Because you have paid the direct tax, the net, now you go buying fuel, you go buying electricity, you go buying everything, and you are taxed at the rate of 16% for VAT and the other rates for the excise tax and everything else.
Okay.
So what we are simply saying, give this guy who is working all his money, because he will spend the money anyway in the economy. So get KRA to have a robust system to collect the money at the level of spending.
Okay.
Which is the real income. Even the income which normally people don't declare will be now netted, because so long as you have the necessary POS equipment, which are connected to KRA, you'll be able to get everybody paying tax at that point.
Okay.
And you're talking about population of how many people? Everybody who spends, start from the age of 18, go to the, everybody, even including the very retired people, still pay tax on their consumption.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this is the interesting jump, Mr. Kelly.
Yeah.
462 to 5 trillion. And you've said it's gradual.
So go to simulation now. Let's see the simulation.
Unfortunately, that simulation, do you have the next slide, or we have to simulate in our minds? I think that was not
captured.
Put up. It wasn't captured, that one. So what does simulation state?
Now the simulation, I will take you to the transactions part.
Okay.
In Kenya,
all right,
the volume of transactions,
okay,
take it for example this way: 1.8 billion is borrowed daily from Fuliza by Wananchi.
Okay.
Daily.
1.8 B.
Daily. 169 billion is spent by Kenyans on gambling. Okay?
Okay.
And these are statistics from Kenya National Bureau of Statistics. Mobile money transfers are 7.9 trillion.
Okay.
Okay? Mobile commerce, okay?
Yes.
Is in 2022 is roughly 20.3 trillion. Are you seeing?
Yes.
This is just, I'm talking about only things which are captured within the mobile telephony and e-commerce. Now, what do we assume, therefore? That we have taken an assumption in this model that let's assume that the consumption or the spending of Kenyans as individuals, after you remove the cash payments, and you should, our economy, we still pay all transactions in cash 80%. Okay. So it's only 20%. So we have taken an estimate of around 30 trillion or 35 trillion. It's it's annual, what passes through the system I've just mentioned, which is captured in the technology. Now, if you have that, and you have removed these taxes from the same people who are actually transacting, and you are now targeting to tax them at that point of spending, and you are capturing taxation on goods, services, and works at the final, at the retail level, not at the wholesale level, at the retail level.
Yes.
So when you do that and you apply 16%, just calculate, do your own calculations. 35 trillion, roughly apply 16%.
Yes.
How much do you get?
Because I know 35 trillion, 10%, that is 3.5. So 16, it will be slightly there, around 5?
Around 5 trillion.
Yes.
So
that's the figure.
That's how the figure is.
Yeah.
That's only, and you've only seen me mentioning only what is captured by the statistics which are in the economic sphere. All right. The cash, which is 80% of our economy, is not in these statistics.
Okay. Our time is running out, unfortunately. Good ideas need a lot of time to examine. I think I'll call you one of the days we have an hour to dissect this with economists and whatnot. But in closing, I'd like us to look at, is there spaces briefly that this has worked across the world? That is one. And two, have you started this dialogue with government? Is this something that they are considering?
Yes. The system works out in a number of ways. In America, for example, the system of people paying for and making savings whenever they spend their money is very well known. In most parts of Europe, it happens. But in our neighboring countries of Seychelles, in Dubai, this is what they have been using. For a long time, until recently, Dubai was not levying taxes, VAT. I mean the other taxes like VAT. All right. They were just, you pay by transaction. Okay. And that was enough for them. All right. Now, maybe if you allow me to mention that the linkage to social protection.
Yes.
Very important.
In a sentence,
In a
because
sentence.
you have a minute.
Now, what we have is that people have been reluctant to pay taxes. But if they can see a linkage between the tax 16%, we are proposing that government co-matches the contribution into a social protection pot.
Okay.
When the citizen also makes his own contribution, at the point of payment of his tax, the government at the same time transfers, let's say 3% to the citizen's account at the social protection fund, and the citizen contributes another 3% from himself. That amount is then invested and then transferred to the social protection programs across the country.
Okay.
Now, Mwananchi will see a direct benefit why he should pay tax.
All right.
The other feature is that each of the collecting agents, the shopkeepers and everybody, should be registered and paid a commission for helping to collect this contribution and taxes.
Wow,
Thank you.
Mr. Ozea, you want to make everyone Zakayo, you know? But thank you very much for your input. I think we'll take time and examine. We want to be a space of new ideas. And today, an idea here has been discussed. Hopefully, that we get to think thoroughly about this particular issue of PACE model and giving that social protection. That's where we close business today. And this week, thank you very much for joining with us. What a journey this has been. And my name is Noki Kimboy. As you've realized, I have a cravat today. Maybe if this idea is implemented, I'll be collecting taxes. God bless you. Up next, we have KTN. Stay tuned. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.